Hi, you're listening to The Happiness Agenda with Steve Sapato and Lucia Herger. Today we're going to be talking about, and I just met her today, but her topic just captured my attention because one of the things she said is her book, your book, I think, is God in a Backpack. Is that right?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
So when somebody says they can put God in a backpack, I got to talk to them. So Lucia, would you give us a little bit of just a little teeny background about you, and then let's talk about what you do and why you do it, okay?
I'm Lucia. I'm a dual citizen. I'm Swiss American, born and raised in Switzerland, Zurich. I've come to this lovely land called Americas in 1998. So it's been a while, more than a generation, really. I'm very grateful to be here. Why? Because America is very, very big and Switzerland is very, very small. So it obviously expanded my horizons. Am I homesick ever? Heck yes, all the time. Why? Because I'm not a refugee. I've not fled from my country. It's lovely. So I've learned to live with my homesickness. It's only natural to miss a beautiful country like Switzerland. But why am I still here versus there? I have chosen America as my home base because I could afford buying a home, which was not a possibility as a Swiss citizen. Also, I've decided to stay here because I've always felt to further my vision, which is heaven on earth, America is the right place to do it. Why? I could do it in Switzerland. I can do it anywhere in the globe, but I feel what America is great at, it is the land of opportunity and innovation. Free
Cool.
thinking, big thinking, everything is big here. Everything is rather small in Switzerland. So I have a big idea and it fits better into America than into Switzerland.
Yeah, good.
Um,
I'm going to interrupt you for a second because you said
sure.
you can't afford or you can't get a home in Switzerland. Why is that?
It is a very expensive country, sir. Unless you are a yuppie couple, two professionals, no kids, no dogs, nothing, and you just basically have a very intense career and earn lots of money, you may be able to buy a private home. Most Swiss citizens are renters all their lives, like my parents have been. Or you're a farm girl or guy, the oldest son of the clan, and then you inherit the farm and with it the house. That's how I compare Switzerland with America. Here, it was so difficult to be a first time home purchaser, buyer, but I managed. I had a dream and I realized it. I've been a proud homeowner for 15 years. I just sold my home and now I live with my sweetheart on the farm
Oh, cool.
uh, and still in Washington State. We've
Yeah.
joined forces. I brought my mess to his mess. Now we have the pleasure of unmessing.
That's right. Well, again, we all think everybody thinks the grass is greener on the other side. So a lot of Americans say, well, if we were in Europe, if Sweden has this wonderful healthcare system and somebody else has this, and you said, you love being in America because it's a free thinking land of the opportunity. And I think one of the things that the average American has lost is that America is the land of opportunity. We hear so much negativity, we hear so much about the poor and the downtrodden that we don't really look at how many opportunities there are, especially for immigrants, people who are just coming in. And that's what's phenomenal about this country is we see immigrants prospering and making a success of their lives. And so many Americans are like, woe is me, poor me. And I think, again, it's a mental process, but we start training our brains through education not to succeed, but to simply follow and become part of what's already there. And that's one of the things that I hope the new administration will change as we move forward in this next 4 years, is helping education move forward away from where we have been into what will be. But I don't want to get away from the real topic, which is we've also lost, in my opinion, well, and not just my opinion, I mean, obviously, attendance at all churches and all that kind of thing is way down in America. And of course, the rise of Satanism, if you watch all this stuff, is up. I don't know how much it's up, but it's still up. And other religions taking over Christianity because everybody's looking for something that the Christian church doesn't offer. So tell us what moved you to where you are right now in this philosophy.
Thank you so much for asking. That's a very, very important topic to my heart, together with all the other humans who like a life of peace, justice, freedom, religious freedom, including, and also space as an atheist to be perfectly respected and happy. My book called God in a Backpack contributes greatly to doing away with division and factions. Even though I'm bravely calling my book God in a Backpack, which I could have chosen for marketing purposes to stay away from a term that a lot of people have developed allergic reactions towards.
Yep.
And it's a risque topic, but I stand my ground. Why? Because to me, I refer to God as the universal God, the one and only. And you will see in my book, the Heaven on Earth logo has a triad. So up here, Stephen, if you peek for a minute, this is
Oh,
God.
at you. I'm looking on my screen going, what am I looking? Oh, no.
The Holy Triad. I have a beautiful logo that you shall all find on the first page in my book. And the Heaven on Earth logo that I created is built around a triad. So here we have God, and here this horizontal line is Earth. Now tell me, Steve, do I say Stephen or Steve?
Steve's fine, yeah.
Steve, okay. So Earth, see this line here is perfectly leveled, and everybody is under the same roof. That makes everybody the same in value. We all have the same intrinsic value, but we all obviously uniquely express that intrinsic value. Nobody is better than another. Nobody possesses God for themselves just because they say, we have the only way. That is not so, because if it were truly God's voice, he would have not made different people. He did not make us uniquely different to war against each other, and certainly not to war in his name or her or its name. That's the most
Horrific. It's horrific. It's
horrific misunderstanding.
all of our processes are, and I've been saying this for 40 years. I'm an old dude, right? But you said the same intrinsic values. And the one thing, and I don't think I understood this. I was able to get into the Army Reserve, so I didn't have to go to Vietnam. I didn't believe in the Vietnam War because I didn't see a reason for us to be there. I knew kind of the history. I knew that France had been there, that Vietnamese had defeated the French, and the French had left like 3 or 4 years prior to that. And I wondered, why was America going to Vietnam, right? And when nobody could answer the question, nobody tried to. But here's what I've learned over all the years. I mean, World War II really took it out of the world. And that is both countries, every country, we want peace, we want love, we want happiness. We don't want war. Only the politicians, only the greedy want war, because war creates war machines and war money and that kind of stuff. But that's when you say God, I look back at the Crusades, and it wasn't God that sent people out to war against other nations, and vice versa. It wasn't the other gods from other nations sent them to war against the Christians. It was people who sent people against people. And I hope, again, I'm hoping against hope that the new administration starts to instill in Americans that we can live with peace, that we don't have to be involved in every nation's conflict. And God doesn't want us involved in every nation's conflict. He would much rather see us all get along and live together in peace. And that's what we need to figure out. And your book probably can help us do that.
Not just probably, absolutely. I have really wrestled with God for 30 solid years, and I waited and waited on myself mostly in making sure that I'm not adding to the laundry list of books, which I love. Believe me, I've read every single book and devoured them literally with my tremendous thirst and quench for truth. So I can honestly say, Steve, that I have saved everybody a 30-year wrestle with God. And my book is now out. It's clean, it's clear, it's simple, it's easy, it's super understandable.
Is it on Amazon?
Yes, sir. It's
Okay.
found on Amazon, and just punch in the title. It'll come right up.
And
What,
again, repeat the title.
yes, of course. God in a Backpack.
Great.
So the reason I chose that title, first of all, I stand for God as a word, but I also make it very clear on a note in the note to readers what that means for me. So that right off the bat, I'm sharing what my philosophy behind it is, so people don't have to plow through it. That is not their cup of tea. I make it easy, and I don't collect readers. I share with the world, and then every reader either likes it or doesn't. But I have not found a single reader yet who could not appreciate it. And I'd like to say proudly and gladly, I have fans in the religious camp, I have fans in the spiritual camp, and I have fans in the atheist camp. That means they are all proof that I struck the very delicate balance of finding a most respectful, careful vocabulary that doesn't beat around the bush. It's super clear, but it's very respectful to all people. So everybody on earth who'd like to know, who is God, what is God? Who am I? What is my origin? What is my purpose? What is life about in general? Put all the deepest human questions on your list, Steve, and then measure it against the book, not against, read it with the book's eyes and what the words say, and see whether you can easily find your answer. Because actually I challenged myself and put my deepest human questions on one page, and it's in the book, and then you can add yours. And I'm very deep, so it's a long list, but it fits on one page. Yeah. And then on that page, I address all those questions, and I find one answer that answers all the questions. And then that's not only an answer, it's an answer in one word. And at the end of the book, I dissolve that one word into a human gesture. Why is that important? Because it also breaks through the language barrier and the cultural barrier, because I've been all over the world, not really all over the world, but I'm a world traveler. And sometimes I speak the language because I speak 4 actively and 2 dormant. Wow. So I love to speak and learn languages, but it's impossible to learn them all. And then what have you and I left if we're in a language and culture whose language we don't speak? Well, that's where gestures come in. We're all human. We have a face, we have arms to hug, we have a face to shine, and we can indicate with kind gestures that I'm not a threat, you're welcome in my life, and I'm willing to be your friend. It's that easy. And then we don't need words. As loving, as much as I love words as an author, obviously, I also know the truth starts beyond words. Oh, yeah. So therefore, I have no qualms dissolving words, because words are only at best signposts to the truth. Once you bathe in the truth, you shut up and live, you shut up and smile, you shut up and dance, you shut up and enjoy. It's when the mouth stops jabbering, you start really living. Then
what's interesting about that?
Truth.
Yeah, what's interesting about that is you said shut up and my newest book, which is going to be finished, I think, 1st of January, is called Shut Up and Succeed.
I love it. That's right along my alley. I couldn't support that more. That's a fabulous title, Steve.
Well, and I think you touch on so many things, and you and I obviously see things a lot the same way, because I'm go back 20 or 30 years. Dr. Wayne Dyer used to say in his big, wonderful talks, he would end with, "I am God. I am God." And at first I was like, and I know other people went, "You're not," they were like, "You're not God. You can't say that." I went, "You don't understand the context. We're all God." I mean, if you start to really understand what God is and should be, we are all God because he created us. We are part of him, and that's what it's all about. And then you said something else. You said in our gestures and our hugs, and the world has changed so dramatically in the last 50 years. When I was a kid, everybody hugged everybody, basically. I
Oh,
mean, but now if you hug somebody, they'll be offended. If you look at somebody, they're offended. And you're like, wow, when did we get to that place where physical contact became a barrier to us, and no one should be allowed to touch it. And granted, you got to know what you're doing. You can't just walk up and hug somebody or touch somebody, and we understand that. But when it's some people you kind of know, or like when I do my speaking engagements, a lot of times I'll walk out and I'll hug somebody, and then I'll just turn and hug the next person. And some people are like, and you're like, oh, sorry, I thought if you were standing this close to me, you were open to a hug. But people don't. Not only do they not see that part, but they also don't understand the concept of distance or proximity. I heard somebody just on a webinar today, and he was talking about there's an intimate closeness, and then there's I'm trying to think what he called the next place, but it's the social closeness, and then social closeness is the big one, but whatever is the next one. So first there's intimate, which is you and me way too close. Then there's within this other, there's still, you're in my space, right? So I'll call it space closeness, but you're still too close to me. And so that's when we back up even farther, and that's social closeness.
right.
And it's amazing to me that if we were all as godly as we are hoping to be, and I mean, you talk to some people and they want to be godly, they want to be more responsible that way, and yet they don't understand how to get there, right?
Exactly. And you touch upon very delicate subjects such as touch and closeness. And I found in my travels that it's cultural specific too.
Yeah.
Even in Switzerland, we have a French part, and we have 4 languages that are official:
Didn't know that.
German, and then Swiss French, Swiss Italian, and Romansh. The reason I bring this
Wait,
up,
what was the last one?
Romansh, it's the only language spoken in that place of the earth, Romansh.
Really?
Yes, it's a very small area, and they cultivate it to not lose the language because there's such a small portion that obviously they speak Swiss German too, so to survive economically and interact with the rest of Switzerland. The Swiss German part is the largest section, but I bring this up to you because even in my own family, I have a mother who never was easy to hug, even though I loved her, but she was not comfortable with this hug. Why? I studied my family inside out. It made me a psychologist, basically,
Yeah.
life trying to understand my own family.
Yeah.
And in a very respectful way, I love my mom, but I can also share her lodestones that she came in with and held on to for the remainder of her life. She had worthiness issues. And because of it, she didn't feel so comfortable being simply hugged because she probably was kind of fighting off that warmth and cuddliness because she suffered under a feeling of lack of worthiness.
Yep.
So she felt like I felt her resistance, but with her, I could practice that and share just as much as she could bear, but it was quick, and I could always feel she's holding back. She loved me, but just not was able in that way. And
I
then,
think there's a lot of people who can relate to our parents doing that. Both my dad and my mom were that way. I don't think they ever said, "Hey, I love you." That wasn't part of them. Even when hugging, they were, my dad would pat my back, real like, "Hey," it wasn't a hug. And yet
yeah,
at the same time, um, both of them, as you learn later in life, struggled for that real intimacy in their relationship.
exactly.
And you think if you could have broken that barrier with one or two of them, like now, my dad passed away several years ago, but my mom is in a nursing home and um, in and out with Alzheimer's type thing. But
Wow.
what my mom never did when we were living there when we were younger, she never gave you that intimacy, that love and caring. And yet now that she's in the nursing home, she absolutely craves you to hold her, touch her, tell her she's loved. Isn't that funny?
Wonderful. I'm glad that changed for you because some Alzheimer patients are the opposite. They become
Yeah.
angry and very difficult to handle, and alienating their own loved ones.
Mhm.
And then, of course, forgetting them over time. But I'm glad it's different for you, Steve. That's
Thank you. Yeah.
wonderful. And I want to touch upon the cultural difference even in my own little country. So the French part has a very different way of greeting. Swiss Germans kind of stretch out their hands and say hi. That's our greeting. Americans say, when you're not close yet, they usually just say the name. And then later, when they're closer acquaintances, they hug, right? That's their greeting. But in the French culture, and even it differs where in France, some give. So in Geneva, where I did my studies and lived for 4 years, it would be la bise, and that is like you kiss here, 1, 2, 3, 3 times. In
Yeah.
certain parts of France, 4 times, and
Oh,
then
wow.
other parts of France 2 times. But that's very personal. Oh my God, I felt like a salt pillar frozen with anxiety. And I was traumatized in Geneva. I thought, oh my God, they kiss me on the cheek. They don't even know me, but it's their way. And so when I went home to my parents visiting over the weekend, I would kiss them like this, and they thought, oh my God, what has come of our daughter? It's like gone nuts or something. Sharing. And then other countries where you cannot touch
Yeah.
people with their left hand, because the left hand would do the dirty business and cleaning your butt after doing number two. So do not touch with the left hand. That's the dirty hand.
Fascinating.
Or other countries, you cannot look people in the eye because it's intimidation and domination. Whereas other cultures feel, if unless you look into their eyes, you are not respectful. So we must
Yeah.
learn, or be willing to learn and observe, what is the culture's ways that I'm presently visiting, and then emulate their ways as best as possible,
Yeah.
as I choose to be a polite guest to
Yeah.
their.
So how does that parlay back into your book and what you're trying to share?
Okay, let's go right to the word God to make clear what is my God I'm talking about. My God is your God, everybody's God, even if they think they don't have a God. Saying God looks after them.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem calling that God Allah, calling that God void or non-dualistic, all the scientific terms. I couldn't care less what we call our creator, but it's the same for all. That's important. So for me, God is what? Omnipresent love. And let's look at that triad again. If you peek, up here is God, and he, she, it created all of what's below, all the humans on earth. So the most important question to ask ourselves to achieve peace on earth is the following: what is our true origin? Our true origin goes beyond our culture, beyond our family. It goes all the way back to heaven. And then the next question to realize, what issues heaven? Only love beings. So then we can answer the second question: who am I? Love. Not 87% or 32, depending on my worthiness level or issue, but 100% love. And that goes for love, and that goes for saints and sinners. Sinners may not apply the 100% love the same as saints, maybe misapply, but that's in the misbehavior. But that does not mean they're not made of the same stuff called 100% love. That's the intrinsic value given by the Creator to all of us. The question is, what do I make of it? What
Yeah.
do we make of it? And in that way, we differ, because we all have very different evolutionary epiphanies and breakthroughs and realizations. That's why we're given life. I have one joke in the book under my humor chapter that says, and here I blurt it out as a teaser. Why do you think, Steve, did God create eternity?
No idea.
Because he knew it would take us a while to figure life out.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
And in that figuring, we all have different stages of realizing who we are. So the book speaks about it clarifies the origin, which is beautiful because that makes us all equal. I do not bow down to a single worldly hierarchy. I respect everybody, authorities and all. I don't have an issue with authorities, but my very ultimate authority is the creator who created us.
Yeah.
Here, that us is beautifully depicted as an equality line. That does away with all racial issues. It does away with gender issues. It does away with generational issues. You know, nobody's better than another. And once we know, oops, we are all from heaven. Oops, that means we're made of love. Oops, that means since I am love, I can love. So loving is a choice, but not an I don't know how. A lot of people say, well, I've been growing up in an abused home. I've never lived and experienced love. Of course, that's harder to then live it out because we don't have the mentors and confidence, and we don't know through the horizontal reflection who I am. But guess what? We all have the vertical reflection. This connection, we all can make the connection vertically, know where am I from. Can you imagine heaven being other than loving? No. Everybody knows heaven is wonderful. Heaven is nothing but loving. Heaven is peace. Heaven is inclusive. Love is inclusive.
Well, I think it's interesting, and I wrote it down this way: all issues disappear in love. So all of the other issues disappear. And I hate to wrap this up because I'm fascinated, but we are already 22 minutes into this, and I need to make it less than a half an hour.
Hopefully, wrap it up. What else would you like to know before we go?
I think how about let's find out how they can contact you and if you have a website.
I do have a website. It's rather dormant, meaning I'm not techie. So that's on my homework list to make it a little bit more spiffy and active, interactive as well. So that's on my learning curve. It's called heavenonearthcometrue.com. In there, you also find the book listed. You can order it there, and the easiest, fastest way is still Amazon. The book again is called God in a Backpack. And what does it do? It does away with factions and divisions. It helps everybody create a beautiful personal relationship with our creator God, with yourself as a reader and as a human, and with each other. It promotes peace on earth, and it answers all the difficult questions that humans have asked in the past, are asking in the now, and will be asking in the future. And guess what? It does away with all of the problems we presently have had, and will have. We
need to send a copy to all of the politicians in Washington. That's what
That's exactly my goal. My most ardent goal is that my book goes to all the governments, to all the schools, to all the educational departments, because it's within the field of spiritual education. My forte is simplify complexity. Hence the title, God is the most complex anybody can think about. And then backpack is the symbol for simplicity. Because, you know, as a backpacker, you and I know we cannot climb a mountain with our house on our backs. We have to simplify. And the analogy is drawn to the spiritual realm. We cannot go home with all our emotional trauma lodestones. We must forgive. We must push through the challenges. And by the time we're done with that process, we're super light.
That's right. We must get to that place where we forgive, and we forgive actually everything. I'm known as the pot stirrer here where I live, because I'm constantly taking the people who are the complainers and the whiners, and I'm constantly making fun of what they complain and whine about, which stirs the pot because it makes them madder. And you're trying to go, no, what I wanted you to do is see how stupid your argument was and what you're mad about, how stupid it was, because almost nothing should upset you. And that's what's always amazing to me, is how people get so easily upset, easily manipulated. But you know what? I really appreciate you being on the show today. I want you to know that when I first saw what you wrote, we met on an online chat thing, which was somebody else's post, and they said, "Hey," and I saw what she posted. I went, "Oh, that's a curiosity thing for me. I want to know more about what she had to say." And again, what triggered me was she had her book out there, God in a Backpack, and I went, "Well, what does that mean, right?" And so I was brought to that. So I want you guys to go to her website, or at least, you know what? She says she's working on her website, so it may not be as nice as you want it to be. Forgive her for that. But go to Amazon and find the book God in a Backpack. And look at the screen. Her name is Lucia, Lucia Herger, Herger. This is for the people who might just be listening to the podcast and not seeing the video. Lucia, Lucia Herger. Go to Amazon, pick up a copy of her book, God in a Backpack. And what if it totally surprises you with how it affects you? What if it just touches you? I bet you know somebody who you would love to give this book to as a gift, because it will change people's lives. So I haven't read it. I'm going to go buy it. And I hope we sell enough books from just this podcast to make her a little bit wealthier than she is right now. I don't know whether you want wealth or not, but we hope we pass it on, spread it around. And Lucia, I really appreciate you being here. I got to wrap it up. And you people have been listening to the Happiness Agenda, where we pray that you will be happier, healthier, have better relationships, and make more money in your life as you move forward. God bless.